Hi, Nina.
Hi there, Simon. Hello
How
to
are
everybody
you?
who joined us already. How are you doing?
I'm pretty fine, thanks. We're not on the same floor today, right?
Nope, but we are in the office both. I think first time since the whole webinar planning started, so that's exciting.
And it's our
Cool.
10th webinar today. The
That's
10th or the
crazy.
11th, I'm not quite sure about that, but
Yeah, true. With a little bit of a changed agenda and things that we cover, but still, yeah, time is flying crazy from the first idea of let's look at how things are happening since the whole corona thing started until the point where we are now at the known building radar webcast that people return to. It's really nice and exciting, to be honest. Cool.
and starting
So
again at 1 minute after 5.
yep, exactly.
Okay.
As I always say with in our international one, we are a German company, but we give you the extra minutes to be late, and then we kick it in right away and make sure that we are still within those 30 minutes, and then we give you all the information that we promised originally. So we'll give it until 5:01. Once 5:01 kicks in, Simon and I will just give you a quick introduction of ourselves. Just quickly running through who are we as a company, Building Radar, to give you an explanation to why we are the relevant ones to speak about the topic. Um, and after that, we'll dive straight into the data and the numbers, which is what we assume you're here for. For everybody who's already with us, general information is there is a little question option or question button on the right side of this stream. If at any point you have any questions, comments, something that you would like us to take into account, feel free to comment it directly in there and we'll pick up the comments, answer your questions directly in this webcast, or if you want to get in touch with us, feel free to do so via LinkedIn, our email addresses, or any other way, our phone numbers, or the information that you have. Good. We're at 5:01 already. My name is Nina, and I've been with Building Radar for just like almost a year now. I'm responsible for all the topics related to sales and business development, call it that way. So this is basically on the side of sales, and then we have a completely different representative here with us, who is our analyst, customer success manager, and everything else. But Simon, feel free to introduce yourself.
Yeah, thanks, Nina. My name is, hello, everybody. My name is Simon. I'm in the company since over 3 years now. Mainly working in customer success together with our customers on specific lead projects, and also doing a lot of research for our customers for this webcast. Analyze. There's a lot of we can analyze within our data.
So, quick introduction of us as a company as well. The reason why we're talking about this topic generally is how we normally work with our customers is allowing them the access to different construction projects. This meaning by kind of one-on-one projects, so finding the specific one. Whereas in this webinar, we aggregate all the data together and we show it to you guys. The way that we collect the data, we're actually a technology company that works with machine learning algorithms that work through natural language processing. What this means is basically we have a machine that reads through all the data available online, from public tenders over to news articles, forums, and similar, where we basically identify construction projects of all sorts of from all sorts of industries in construction or sectors, as well as internationally. Our machine basically reads what's in there, and the biggest part or the biggest unique point about Building Radar is this early stage information, which is what we talk about in our webinar. Why we say early stage information? Because we're able to read anything from when there is first information available online, which means that oftentimes architects are not assigned, oftentimes the information looks exactly what you can see here, actually what Simon flipped to in the presentation. So you can see what kind of information we show you. And then, of course, the further down the line the project is, then the more information we're able to go into. Today, we'll cover a couple of topics, and I'll just let you, Simon, introduce what this is going to look like.
Yeah, thanks, Nina. And yeah, I skipped a few slides to show the early an example for this early stage information. In this month webinar, we look at the building radar indicators, which are based on early stage information on construction projects in whole Europe. As a second agenda point, we show comparison between countries. This will be a comparison between the countries Switzerland, Austria, and Germany, as well as Europe as a whole continent compared to the United States. And as a third topic, our focus topic is a look at the different contract volume distributions of awarded tenders.
This one I'm really excited about.
I think the idea came from you or from a customer or both. I think from a customer and from you, but yeah, will be the last point, so you can be excited. This is information. Unfortunately, I see it just now as in German. A lead looks like in our platform, so what our customers see when they enter Building Radar. I will change this to next month, but you can be sure that we have an automatic translation, so all the English-speaking customers see all the project-related information in English. And this project, this would be an office project in Germany, for example, which is to be built, would be one of many, as you can see here. These are aggregated numbers of early stage informations we collected for Europe. And what we show you is the development since Corona started in North Italy. We see the development from calendar week 7, where the data decreased until the lowest point, calendar week 15. So this is more than 14 weeks ago, or 13 weeks ago. And since then, we see a constant increase of the data, a recovery of our early stage information on construction projects in Europe. So now we are above 5% the pre-crisis level, which we define as calendar week 7.
Yeah, so if you were with us from the start of the webinars, actually, we've been always looking at this kind of calendar week 7, calendar week 12, where we were starting to see the real impact of Corona. We removed some of the indicators, or let's say news times when certain things were happening. But now we're just basically looking at where do we stand since we hit those lowest numbers. And yeah, that's where we're going to go in depth on different countries as well.
The data for the DACH region, so Germany, Austria, and Switzerland, look similar. This also comes from the fact that our classifiers collect data in English and in German language. So, for example, for the early stage information, we do not cover the information for Spain or for Portugal, for example, as good as for Germany, which is our home market. But again, these are and you can see it on this axis here, that it's a significant number of data we collect every week and every day. And also for DACH, we see a steep recovery since the lowest point in calendar week 15. For DACH, we are at 7.7% above the pre-crisis level. Our third indicator would be the German market alone. Here we have not the total numbers of data collected, but an index value. And have this index value indexed to calendar week 7. We see the decrease, we see the increase, and on the next slide, you will see something which indicates a V development in the data. Maybe if you're familiar to the press and to the research on on data on time series, you know that there's something like called a V development, an L development, or something like a W. An L development would be something like we have a steep decrease of the data of the indicator and no recovery, so which would indicate an L. And with an V, we see a steep decrease and a steep increase shortly afterwards, with no significant time span on a lower level. And this is exactly what we see on the next slide. So, and Nina, and please all others, please interrupt if any questions on what I'm talking about, or if I'm too fast or too slow. But this data pretty nice shows that we see the development over 2019 in our early stage information for Germany. We have a slight decrease, which is around the change from 2019 to 2020. And here we see what we call this V development. So the decrease and shortly afterwards or immediately afterwards, the increase in the data.
And I think here we can pull a parallel to the topics we've been covering also in our previous webinars, which was why are we calling certain things a corona effect? Why are we actually seeing this difference between, hey, this is when corona kicked in and when we started to see its impact on the industry? And if we're looking now at 2019, you see that, of course, there is some development throughout the year, but it's rather constant. It's playing around the same numbers. While in 2020, we can really see this kind of steep drop. And then luckily also, now we're starting to see things going back to normal.
Exactly. So here we are at 2020, at the beginning of 2020, and this is something around mid of 2019. Mm-hmm. The same data is analyzed for different segments. Blue would be the total, that would be all segments. And the yellow line and the red line are some examples for how it also could look like. So if you look on the red line for the hotel segment, so I would not indicate that this looks like a V. This is rather something like a recovery of the hotel segment based on our early stage information data, but definitely not a V.
Yep.
This is more like what looks more like an L or something between an L and an V. But yeah, surely the residential segment compared to the total curve, which would be the same as this red line, just in a different time span. So we just look at a few weeks here. Here we look over a period of several months, is what we indicate as V development.
And I mean, if we think just one step back as well, with what we're facing at the moment, hotel industry not being the one with the highest recovery is also no surprise. With everything that's happening, for me at least, I can say I'm no analyst or anything like that, but I don't think I would be feeling comfortable investing in a lot more property with the way things are going on right now.
Me neither, yeah. So as far as there are no questions on these slides, we are good in time and we will be good in time. Next slide is concerning the structural and the civil engineering segments. So we divide the whole construction connected data into structural engineering and civil engineering, which would be Hochbau and Tiefbau in German. And for the civil engineering sector, which would be office buildings, for example, hospitals, etc. We see the same decrease in the data for both segments, for structural engineering and civil engineering. But the main difference is that the recovery of the civil engineering data starts 3 weeks earlier than the structural engineering data. Nina, one question: do you see my mouse?
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah. So you can see here there's a difference of a 3-week lag, where the structural engineering data still decreases until this lowest point in calendar week 15, and the recovery in the civil engineering sector in comparison is much faster. And I remember the webcast when we were in calendar week 15, I think, and when we look back on these 3 weeks, this looked it looked like a scissor, which going in different directions. Now it looks like it goes into more or less the same direction. So there's a positive trend in both segments, but still civil engineering sector is above the structural engineering and above the pre-crisis level, which we defined as calendar week 7.
All right.
Same logic for the public and the private construction sector. So we divided our data into a public segment and a private sector, and it's similar development. As you can see here, there's a positive trend in both segments in comparison, but with the difference that the public sector is above the pre-crisis level since 3 weeks, and the private sector, slightly below.
Yeah, and this is generally quite interesting to see, especially when we were seeing that big drop of the private sector and the constantly being under the public sector. I'm also interested for the future how this is going to go. If we're going to see a lot more companies building again, and which are privately owned, and then hopefully go back to those numbers as well.
Exactly, and as we when we look at these weeks again, I think it's no surprise that the public sector recovered earlier than the private sector. As you mentioned, there is probably much more fear in the private sector than, or from private investors for private projects in the public sector.
Exactly. I think that brings us already to our second. Go ahead. Sorry.
Sorry, please.
No, I wanted to say, unless we have any more comments here, I think that already brings us to the second part.
Yeah,
which is slightly more international.
This would be a comparison between countries, and the first comparison would be comparison between Germany, Austria, and Switzerland. Again, from the beginning, from calendar week 7, where the lockdown happened in North Italy, we see that the data, the indicator for Austria, starts to decrease later than the indicators for Germany and Switzerland, and also falls to a lower level than the 2 other countries. And the recovery, so this is pretty interesting, is much stronger for Austria than for Germany and Switzerland, as you can see here with this line. And except this little drop here, we are at a much higher level in the early stage information for Austria than we are for Germany and Switzerland.
This is extremely interesting to look at also when we are looking at the German line, this light blue, how of course there has been drops and there has been development, but overall it looks kind of incredibly stable, taking into account everything that's happened. This is quite an interesting information.
Yeah, exactly. And you might remember a few slides ago, we told you that the recovery for whole DACH is above 100%, so above the pre-crisis level. But looking at the different countries, we see that 2 of them are still below the pre-crisis level, and Austria is here the driver for this recovery for the whole region DACH.
Absolutely.
We see another picture for tenders. So again, early stage information data is separated from tender data. The tender data for these 3 countries is more or less stable around 1 level. So of course now this we in Switzerland we are above the pre-crisis level. In Austria we are now below the pre-crisis level, but if we would have had the this webcast 3 weeks ago, all 3 countries would be above the pre-crisis level. So this is, I would say, this is more or less stable.
Yeah, I think here was just a slight mistake on the side of the slide. So actually Austria is still the one leading the pack with 106% or 105% of pre-crisis level, but the point is there.
And looking to the United States, or the comparison between Europe and the United States, this is also pretty interesting, because what we see nearly the same decrease for both continents. The decrease for United States a little bit later than for Europe. The recovery within the first, what is it, 2, 4, 6, between in the first 8 weeks was faster in the US than in Europe. So if we would cut the graph here at calendar week 20, we would say, okay, United States recover faster, but this changed entirely. So
I remember us also speaking about this with the kind of 2-week delay back in calendar week 8 and 10. This was a topic that we kept coming back to, actually. And I remember us kind of speculating, how is this going to look like? Are we going to have that V curve with the US data? Are the projects actually just going to basically pick up like nothing happened? And yeah, of course, unfortunately, we're starting to see that this impact is properly starting to kick in. And though Europe has been under the US data for most of this year, there is this week 22, if I'm seeing correct, where things kind of flipped. And of course, calendar week 25, we were at very similar levels, we can see. But then this development kind of continues. The US keeps staying under that line. So I would say this will be really interesting data to continue to look into in the upcoming weeks, also from the perspective of sadly, with everything that's going on in the US at the moment, also with Corona, of course, Europe feels right now not as impacted as it felt a couple of months back. Whereas I feel like this is kind of what's happening out there, and it's clearly impacting the industry quite heavily.
Exactly. So we will definitely see this slide again in our webcast next month.
Yeah.
So third part, contract volume of tenders awarded. We had a look on the awarded tenders by volume. So we wondered, is there any difference in awarded tenders by volume? Could it be that the pretty big projects are decreasing and the small projects are increasing? Result would be more or less stable. There might be a slight positive trend, but I would call it stable. There's definitely no Corona effect. What we can see here is something like a short-term boost of the big projects. This is just for Germany, so it could be that it's a Corona boost. It could also be that this is connected to after the Easter holidays in Germany. Nevertheless, we see this little boost, and in total, a stable development. No major differences over the different volumes in tenders awarded. This is what you waited for, right?
Yes, absolutely. And actually, when I'm looking at the data, I'm thinking for next time, it might be a good idea to even show this on a monthly basis, because we're actually seeing, when we look at the data, we're seeing a lot of drops and those kind of M's and W's going on. And I would say if we looked at kind of a little bit more aggregated and compared months, I think we might even be able to pull some more interesting insights.
Yeah, very good idea. Let's do that in the next webcast.
I'll mark it for us.
We see
Right.
not separated by volume, but total awarded tenders for Germany and Europe. So we wondered, is there a difference in the I see there's a question, Nina.
Yes.
What date is week on 1, please? Date 1 is this so there's one question from Mark who asked what date is week 1. Date 1 would be calendar week 7, and this would be the mid of March.
So calendar week 7 began with actually to 15th of February, if I'm correct.
Oh, it's February. Okay, yeah. Sorry.
Something in that direction at least, but yeah, mid-February.
And between calendar week 7 or calendar week 8, I remember that the lockdown in North Italy started, where the coronavirus hit Italy.
Yeah, that's the reason why we started taking these dates, because that's where we started to see the difference in data actually. So it's the calendar week 7 is when things in Europe at least started to kick in.
Yeah. And yeah, and calendar week 1 would be then the week with the first day in or the first week which include the day of 2020. So thanks for the question. I hope the question is answered. And yeah, continuing with the slide, we wondered if there's a difference in the development for Germany and Europe, and there is a slight difference, I would say. So there's a positive trend, slightly positive trend for the German awarded tenders, and there is a recovering trend for the whole European data. This downward slope here, what we see here for Europe, is clearly connected to decreases in the number of awarded tenders in countries like Spain, Portugal, Italy. We had this graph a few weeks ago in one of our webcasts. So if you're interested in that, you could look that up or could also write me. But this would be the explanation why the data for whole Europe is first decreasing and now slightly increasing.
All right, I think we are almost done. We have one more slide to go
There's
through,
one
and
slide
then
left.
we'll do the summary.
Yeah, we did not only look on the whole industry or whole awarded tenders. We also picked out the building construction, so the civil engineering, which would be Hochbau in Germany. And here we see also a slight drop in the data for, or not a drop, but a slightly negative trend for the European data, and now more or less equal development for awarded tenders in Europe and Germany.
Especially the weeks 27, 28 look like they're stabilizing on the curve. Exactly.
Exactly, yeah.
Interesting.
So this is it for this month. What stands out is in the summary is clearly that the construction indicator for Germany indicates a V development in the comparison of the long-term data. Also that we see a V development, for example, in the residential segment, but not in the hotel segment, which I think is also intuitive. If you consider the hotel segment at the moment, I mean, for me and also I think for us, Nina, it's intuitive that a segment like the hotelry is not so much going on at the moment.
Yeah, I would even go as far as kind of compare it to what we were seeing with private and public data, whereas really in the hotel industry right now, having the confidence to go further and assign projects, this would be an interesting decision in any case.
Exactly. So that was it from our side. Next webcast is in 1 month at August 13th, again at 5 o'clock Central European time. We will send you the slides afterwards. And if you have any questions, please feel free to contact me. If you have questions on the slides provided, or if you have additional questions.
Absolutely. So in any case, as always, if you have any questions now, feel free to send them in directly here in the webinar. And in any other case, feel free to connect with us and contact us at any point. Thanks a lot for your attendance. Mark, thank you for the question as well. Also, if there is anything unclear, or even better, if you have some good ideas of how we can make this more interesting for you and give you more information that's relevant, feel free to contact us. And this goes as far as also different countries' data or anything in this direction. So have a great rest of your Thursday and the rest of the week, and we look forward to welcoming you in 1 month.
Thanks, Nina.
Thank you.